Hello, and thank you for viewing the Ophelia Project's Language of Peer Aggression. My name is Lee Ann Kramer-Nazer, and I am the Director of Curriculum and Programming for the Ophelia Project. Before we really get into the essence of the presentation, I want you to just think for a moment about how bad bullying and peer aggression really are with youth today. Current statistics estimate that 1 out of 4 students are abused by other youth, and 1 out of 5 admit to bullying at some point in their lives. The objectives of this presentation is to list current myths about aggression, define peer aggression, assess the levels of aggression and bullying, identify the roles in peer aggression, and discuss strategies for intervention. Adults have several myths about peer aggression that are relatively prevalent when we look at the situation. A majority of them assume that this is something that all children grow up with, it's part of their lives, and usually it just kind of is outgrown by the end of high school. In college, it never happens, and rarely into adulthood. Girls are mean, manipulative, gossipy, backstabbers. Look at how women are portrayed on many dramas in television or on reality TV shows if you want proof. Aggression is something that's going to make males tougher, more aggressive, better at sports, and something that they need to learn about in life. And it's also put off as kids will be kids, there's nothing we can do about it. Or if the school really had a handle on things, nothing like this would happen. Youth also have their kind of ideas about how peer aggression is supposed to work and why it's part of their lives. They truly believe that revenge is a part of life and it's always necessary. There's a fear of retaliation that if they intervene, they get involved in a situation, they'll become a target themselves. It's never their business to stay out of situations. Gossip, again, as we've said with the adult myth, it's just expected, particularly with girls. A lot of youth believe that they can get away with it. They're not going to get in any trouble, so therefore it must not be wrong. And kids who are targets often feel that they just need to deal with it as part of life. When we talk about aggression, we want to be sure that we are all using the same definition and be clear in knowing that aggression is behavior intended to hurt or harm others. The important word here is in the intention. It's a deliberate choice that someone is making to willingly, intentionally, purposefully hurt another person's being, whether intellectually, physically, emotionally. When we look at aggression, we can classify it as overt, something that's easily seen, physical aggression, threats, anything that can be seen or heard, or covert aggression, which is a little bit more manipulative, where somebody is perhaps encouraging another person to be aggressive on their part. Covert aggression is very hard for adults to see, particularly in a school setting. It happens when students are most often unsupervised. It happens in group settings. It happens when we're really not carefully looking to observe these behaviors. When parents are approached that their child is acting overtly, parents tend to be defensive because they often feel like they're somehow inadequate as parents if their child is acting in this way. It's very easy for students to deny these behaviors and also lie to their parents, lie to their teachers, and deny that it's happening. Again, this is something that's going to happen in a group dynamic where we have others being manipulated. So we often can't identify everyone who's involved in being aggressive, and for this reason, it's very hard to use a zero tolerance policy. We can also classify aggression as proactive or reactive. Proactive is something that's going to give the aggressor an external reinforcer. For example, if a girl thinks that another girl is going to be more popular than her, steal her boyfriend, have more friends than she is, she may spread a rumor to damage that girl's reputation and exclude her, thus making herself look more desirable to have more peers. Reactive aggression, on the other hand, is something that is in response to an action. It's from defensive purposes or also for revenge. Aggression that we can see is physical aggression. It's harm or control through physical damage or the threat. This can be damage to a person's being or to a person's property. But with physical damage, there's often very easily preservable evidence that some aggression has happened, whether we have bruises, scrapes, broken property. All of these things we can very easily see. This is also something that's very easily taken care of from a disciplinary standpoint because of how visible the aggression is. Schools often have zero tolerance policies or some other disciplinary measure in place. Law enforcement agencies have things such as assault for when a physical attack has occurred. Verbal aggression is any kind of communication, and it could be written, drawn, or spoken, any type of communication that's going to harm another person. Again, this is something that we really want to look at the intention, the deliberate behavior looking to hurt another person. It's again very easily identified. We can hear the words, we can see the written or drawn images, and for libel and slander are legally enforced methods for controlling verbal aggression. Many schools also have a policy in place for um, particularly racial and ethnic slurs, comments about gender, comments about sexual orientation. A lot of schools have put into their behavioral policies protection for students who have been targets of verbal aggression. But then we start to think about these other behaviors, mostly covert, where students are excluded, where students feel that the other students are building alliances against them, where we have covert cyberbullying, perhaps under an anonymous account. These behaviors are not just normal, acceptable behaviors. It's not just something we want to brush off as kids being kids. These behaviors are all considered relational aggression. And relational aggression is harming others through the manipulation and damage to their relationships. Anytime we're hurting someone's ability to form a relationship, to form a bond with others, we are being relationally aggressive. We know that relational aggression doesn't have boundaries as far as social classes. It's not something that the more affluent students are doing. None of that is justified in the research from the Ophelia Project. We also have heard many people stereotype that relational aggression is girl bullying. However, our research has found that boys are also relationally aggressive. It's just in how they are aggressive. Girls tend to be relationally aggressive towards people within their social circle, boys outside of their circle of friends. You think many sports rivalries are actually a form of relational aggression, where one group of boys is using things to put down another group, another sports team, so that they can't get as big of a fan following. We also know that children as young as 3 and 4 years old effectively use relational aggression, saying, "You can't come to my birthday party." Or, as my children have used on me, "I don't love you anymore. I'm not cleaning my room." However, we want to look a little bit further. These words are often confused and assumed to be bullying, especially if you're a teacher and have had a parent come storming into your classroom saying, "My child is being bullied." We want to make sure that we're very clear in accurately defining what is bullying. And Olveus, who's one of the leading researchers on bullying, uses this definition with three particular criteria to define an incident as bullying. This is behavior that is bringing on unsolicited negative behaviors. So this is proactive aggression. Again, this is something that's going to involve a pattern of behavior. We're going to see a repetition. We're going to see an increase in frequency and intensity along with it, possibly. And we're also going to look at the imbalance of power. This could be a physical power. This could be a power of numbers in the cases of alliance building, or it could just be social power that the student has been so relationally bullied that they no longer are able to make friends. The most important thing is that there's a repeated use of aggression to constitute bullying. It's not just a one-time thing. So we're going to look at when we have an aggressive incident or perceived aggression, how are we going to define this on the levels? The lowest level of aggression and bullying is called a bummer. It's a situation that's not really great, but it's not aggression. This is missing the intent to harm. As a teacher of young students, often they would accuse me of not liking them if I didn't call on them in class. However, a teacher can only call on one student at a time. If a teacher doesn't call on a particular student, she's not being mean, she's not being relationally aggressive and ignoring that student or excluding him. It's simply because she can only call on one student at a time. It's a bummer for that student. Same as if a sibling comes home with a friend and they both have ice cream. A younger sibling may say that the older sibling is being mean because he didn't bring ice cream for his younger sibling. It's simply a bummer. Unless, however, that older sibling says, "We got ice cream, you don't have it." That's where we're moving into aggression because then that person is looking to hurt or harm the other person. Bullying, as we've already mentioned, is a step above aggression. It includes the unsolicited behaviors, repetition, and the power imbalance. And at the very top level, we have violence, abuse, or extreme bullying. This is any time there's an immediate threat to the safety, physical or emotional, of others, if there's any involvement of weapons, if a target is contemplating hurting themselves or anyone else to end the behaviors, or if we can bring in legal consequences upon the person who is being aggressive. When we look at an aggressive situation, we're going to see that there are four particular roles that a person could fall into. We have the aggressor, and that's the person who chooses to hurt or damage a relationship, and they're actually the one initiating the aggressor or the aggressive act. A target is the person who is the object of aggression. They're being aggressed upon. They are the ones who are intentionally being hurt or harmed. And these are the two main roles. Every situation has an aggressor and a target. The other roles are kind of supplementary. A bystander is just people who are there seeing what's going on, but they're generally not involved. They're kind of spun along in the wheel of the machine here, if you'll go along with the gears analogy that's up there. They're not really that involved, though. They're just kind of spinning along and seeing what's happening. Then there's the last gear, and this is the red one, and it's the role of the upstander. This is someone who sees what's going on, recognizes that it's wrong, and tries to do something about it. An upstander positively intervenes and tries to help out a target. If you look at, this is one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King, "In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Think about the target who's being abused on the playground, who's being emotionally harassed, emotionally aggressed upon, and not only are they being hurt, but their friend is standing there silently watching it happen. And again, we've mentioned that sometimes students are afraid of retaliation. They're afraid to get involved because it's not particularly their business. But the target remembers those who stand by and do nothing. So we encourage students to become upstanders, and they can do something during an aggressive act to change the dynamic of the power in the situation. They can just change the topic, say something nice about the target. Maybe the aggressor is making fun of a haircut, and you can simply say, "I really like it," and then walk away with the target. And it's always important, don't laugh, leave. Just get the target away from the situation. Or if you're feeling pretty self-confident, you can always use humor to diffuse the situation. You can also be a little more assertive and just tell the aggressor, if this is not okay, it's not funny, I want you to make it right. You could get in trouble for this. Hey, let's go over there. Let's go do something else and distract the aggressor from the situation. We also know that upstanders can get help, and it's not avoiding the situation. It's not being afraid to intervene. An upstander who seeks help recognizes that the situation is beyond what they can control, or maybe they don't know how to do it, so they seek someone who can. They can quickly get an adult, yell for help, or simply say to the other bystanders, "What's going on? We can't let this happen. We can't let our friend get hurt," and seek out that power in numbers to stand up. An upstander can still change the flow of aggression after the event has occurred. They can support the target afterwards and empathize with them. Let them know that they feel badly and they don't want to have it again. They can also make sure to not glorify the incident, talk about it more, share it on Facebook, upload the video to YouTube, and really let everybody else know that their friend was humiliated. They can talk to the aggressor after the incident and say, "What's going on? Come on, make it right." Or, "I'm really not cool with it if you're going to treat people like that." Just let them know that it's not okay. And again, getting help. Talk to an adult, find a way to report the incident, or talk to other bystanders and say, "Hey, what did we do? We totally let our friend get hurt and we didn't do anything." And come up with ways that they could do something more next time. At the Ophelia Project, with our research, we found something that we call the 15-80-10 rule. Unfortunately, only 15% of bystanders actually intervene when they see a situation. However, when they do, they're successful over 80% of the time and within the first 10 seconds of intervention. Now, I'm not one for gambling, but I'd say those are pretty good odds. It's something to let an upstander know that when they do something to help a target, they have an amazing opportunity to not only be successful, but to be successful quickly. So, all in all, we really want to reinforce that aggression is specifically an intentional behavior. It's someone who wants to harm another person, whether it's through physical harm, verbal, written, spoken, or drawn communication, or relational aggression that's going to hurt their ability to form bonds and relationships with others. If we repeat these aggressive behaviors, if we have an imbalance of power, and if these are proactive behaviors, then we're going to call this bullying. In every aggressive act, we can find an aggressor and a target. Most of them we can also find bystanders and upstanders. Bystanders have an amazing power to help a target and move into the role of upstander. But most importantly, no one has to live with peer aggression. What you can do today is talk to your students, talk to other parents, talk to other teachers, talk to your colleagues. Let people know that aggression isn't a part of childhood. It's not something that you outgrow. It's not something that you have to live with. Girls don't have to be catty and gossipy. Boys don't have to be tough and talk down on others. Share a story. Listen to the stories of others. When we share, when we use the language of peer aggression, when we talk to other people about our experiences, we're letting them know we don't want that to happen again. And stories have this amazing power to teach us about situations that aren't desirable. And finally, encourage bystanders to be courageous kids, to be upstanders, to be a positive change that they want in their school. Thank you for viewing this Ophelia Project presentation of the language of peer aggression. For more information about the things that you've seen today, visit the Ophelia website at www.opheliaproject.org or leave a comment on our Facebook wall at facebook.com/The Ophelia Project or send us a tweet at The Ophelia Project. Again, my name is Leanne Kramer-Nazer. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Programming. You can visit me on my personal website, lakramer.com or leannekramer@comcast.net. Thank you and have a great day.